Greetings, cannabis growers from around the world. Jordan River here, back at you with more Growcast. Just a few weeks from harvest, and that's okay with me. Today we have OK Calyx, a brand new guest. This is an incredible episode, guys. We had to cut it a little bit short due to his time constraints, but he's going to come back on for a two-parter. And this episode is amazing. It's all about Oklahoma history, cannabis history, and OK Calyx's story. I know you're going to love today's episode. Before we jump into it, though, ceogrow.xyz, baby. Go and visit, upgrade your tent, use code GROWCAST for 10% off, site-wide, all the knickknacks you need to make your tent pimped out, grow like a boss, ceogrow.xyz. Find your LST clips there, find your solo cup holders that clip right onto your tent poles. So easy to add a bunch of plants to your already existing space with these solo cup holders. They also have a little insert that doubles as a shelf for your hygrometer or whatever you got up there. You can get some vents for your intake and outtake that blocks the light and increases the airflow. You can get all sorts of cool stuff for your grow, plus smoking gear, debowlers, covert bongs, mason jar converters. So cool. Check it out, ceogrow.xyz, code GROWCAST. Head over there now, see how you can upgrade your space. You will not regret it. Grow like a boss, baby, with ceogrow.xyz. All right, let's get into it with this first ever episode with OK Calyx. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to Growcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, as always, I urge you to tell a friend about the show, turn someone on to growing, turn them on to Growcast. Check out our membership at growcastpodcast.com/membership, the order of cultivation up there. And of course, see if we're coming to a town near you with our awesome classes, growcastpodcast.com/classes. So much fun stuff going on. I'll see you soon, everybody. Today we are in History Month still. That's right. We're wrapping up June, Cannabis History June. And I'm super excited to get local with it. It's my new locale as well, but everybody likes to hear about the wild cannabis mecca that Oklahoma has become. And that's what we're talking about today is Oklahoma cannabis history. And who better to have as a guest than the one and only OK Calyx. What's up, OK Calyx?
Hey, Jordan, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on the show.
You bet. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah, brother. So OK Calyx, follow him on Instagram. A lot of you guys already know this guy. He's a breeder. He's a plant fermenter, like a KNF-ish type guy. He grows all sorts of different plants, not just cannabis. Was loving your rose bush pictures recently, man. But one of the reasons we wanted you on specifically is because you're born and raised Oklahoma, right? Like you've been here, you've been growing here for a long time.
That's correct. I was born in Watonga, Oklahoma. And then as a small kid, I was in Canton, Oklahoma, which is kind of central western Oklahoma. And then around first grade, I moved to a town called Nowata, which is northeastern, kind of close to Kansas and Arkansas. And currently I live in the Tulsa area.
So you've literally been all over Oklahoma. When did you start growing? And was it cannabis at first, or did you start growing vegetables and flowers first?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my father and his family owned a fruit market in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And so I grew up in the gardens, in the fruit market.
Whoa.
My dad taught me kind of how to farm. And he didn't do the stuff that I do now, the JDAM and the organic stuff. You know, it was just regular. Give it some good fertilizer and take care of the land. He was still husbandry though, it was still taking care of plants.
Wow.
But so I started that in the garden as a kid. I worked in the fruit market up into college. Now in college is when I kind of started smoking weed, right? Smoking cannabis for the first time. And that's when I kind of was like, oh my gosh, this is a plant that morphs. It's something totally different. And I just could not believe what this plant did. And I fell in love with it ever since. But in college, I had to stop for 20 years, man. I didn't smoke cannabis for 20 years. And the big, long backstory is I struggled with a lot of anxiety and depression. But what got me into smoking cannabis at about the age of 40 was because of anxiety and depression, and the things they were giving me was tanking my life. And I totally cold turkeyed everything and went straight to cannabis on August 26, 2016. That's when I just did only cannabis. And I mean, I don't drink anymore, no pills of any kind. It's just the way I am. It's how I have to be mentally happy. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
The
That's
mind
powerful.
is the struggle, but So August 26, 2016, I started smoking weed again. But for about 3 years before that, around August 2014, a neighbor had moved in and I saw cannabis on his dresser one time. And I was like, no way. Because it's illegal, you know. You got to have that mindset. Like, it's illegal. You're going to jail for this, you
Yes.
know. And so I just glanced at it and it was in a little bitty baggie. It was like 3 buds. And I was like, oh, dude, can I smell it? Because I hadn't smelled cannabis in 20 years, probably. Good dried cannabis. Because when I was growing it out in the guerrilla growing, you know, I would grow the plants, but they're going to get eaten up a lot by bugs and stuff. And you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I didn't anyway. And it just wasn't great weed, but it would work sometimes. But let's see, around 2016 is when I started smoking it again because I had a major life change. I mean, I started a new business. I quit my old job. I was like, I have to change my life or I'm going to, you know, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
I was getting into the dark place, which I'm not there anymore. But I guerrilla grew for, let's see, maybe 4 to 5 years where I was really like, okay, I've got a couple of plants out here and a couple of plants over there. You know, I was really trying to grow. And then in 2016, Oklahoma was supposed to legalize cannabis and they didn't. And it was
right?
Devastating. Yes, it was devastating to me because I was like, no way, I'm going to have to be, you know, underground constantly, you know, because I had chosen cannabis. I was like, I'm going with cannabis. It's illegal. I don't care. I got to make a change in my life.
Right.
And they did not legalize it. And so for 2 years, it's dark. You know, it's not telling anybody. I can't just go to the liquor store anymore. You know, I'm not doing that. I'm having to find freaking illegal weed and use it for medicine for a good, you know, solid 2 years and a little bit maybe before. But
God, that's interesting though. I had forgotten that they tried to pass it and then it failed. That does sound familiar now that you mention it.
yeah.
But then it coming back up on the ballot you must have just been absolutely elated.
It was glorious, man. It was like, you know, it was because you're so worried about going to jail. And you know, the first hot day of summer in Oklahoma, if you smoke weed in your car ever during wintertime, that first hot day is going to bring out some stinky cannabis in your car you weren't even ready for. And it's horrifying to have that driving down the road, man. You're like, oh my gosh, that smells like cannabis and it's illegal. But yeah, it was such a big weight off their shoulders when we got to vote for that. Man, I immediately went and got my card and I immediately started trying to really learn how to grow. And I started off with Fox Farm like everybody else in Oklahoma did.
Sure, of course.
Everybody everywhere. It was like, yeah.
That shit is everywhere, man.
It is everywhere, isn't it? It was good. It kind of got me going and just helped me. It helped me kind of understand that there's a hard way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? And then the organic way kind of came around as, oh my gosh, this is way easier. And you know, the organic way is just growing it like a tomato plant. Just let it grow. Just let it freaking grow. You don't need to go through all the different NPKs. It doesn't have to be that difficult, right? If you got good soil and a little bit of good natural fertilizer, that plant does what it does.
I'm so excited to talk about that and growing natively in Oklahoma. Before we get into the growing aspect, though, I would like to just touch on a little bit what you were saying a second ago, because it did seem so like illegal. You think about the worst states for cannabis a couple years ago: Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma was on that list, dude. Idaho,
yep, that's right.
Oklahoma was on that list. Like no one, at least from my perspective, as someone who lived in a different place, I was living in Illinois and Chicago. I didn't expect Oklahoma to go legal. So can you talk a little bit more about that transition from like this old school super black market to what is now essentially the national mecca? Was it surprising to you? Did the prices change? Like, what did you see the biggest changes were?
Yeah. So it was a whole new world. And I really mean that in the cannabis world that I was in, the black market, the Wild Wild West, it totally explains it perfectly. It was just chaos in Oklahoma. Because, you know, at the very beginning, they were saying, yeah, you can grow plants. You can grow 6 in flower, 6 in veg. It's on the back of your card. We're like, awesome. Well, where do we get some seeds at? Well, there's no dispensaries to sell seeds. So you're going to have to go somewhere else to get them, you know? And it's like, okay, you can have 8 ounces of cannabis on you, or however, I don't remember the exact amount, but you can have so many ounces of cannabis on you right now. You know, you've got your card, you can do it. Well, there's no dispensaries in your town to get it, you know? So you could still have illegal weed on you just as long as it was under the measurement,
right?
You know, because there weren't dispensaries for certain towns. And it was just, it was wild, wild west for a while. I'm sure there was a lot of illegal things going on. And what happened with me is when it became legal, I had, I went and searched out people who grew weed. Like,
Mhm.
I want to get into the growing business. Now, I'm not in it right now, but when it first started, I'm like, I just want to get in it. I want to learn everything about it.
Right.
There was processing, there was the growing side of it, there was what you do with the waste of it also, which was seemed like a massive waste to me, having to burn all kinds of green veg product. It could be turned into compost and other things. But I started going to a bunch of grows in Glenpool, Oklahoma, which is about 1 mile from my house. I'm kind of out in the country here. And there were 32 grows in this one warehouse area, 32 growers in one
Jesus.
warehouse area. And I'm assuming there's maybe 60 open spots. I'm sure 50% of them were growers. And I was going in and just saying, hey, how are you? I'm totally interested in cannabis and I just want to see what's going on,
That's
and
so
anybody
cool.
that would let me in, I would go in and they would, what was cool is people are so passionate about it. Like, they would want to show you they're growing. They want to show you their setup. They want to show you their hard work that they've done. And so it's really fun to talk to somebody who has a little passion behind them. And I didn't know everything about cannabis. I still don't, but I didn't know anything about cannabis then. And they're just telling me all the stuff you do with the plants and the soil, and some are newts and some are organics. And this world just opened up, and it was so much fun. I can't tell you how much freaking fun it was to be hiding my cannabis, even from my wife, dude. Nobody knew except that neighbor that
Right.
gave me that bud. Nobody knew. Nobody knew I was growing out in the woods either.
That's the
Not
way you
my
had to
wife
do
didn't know
it.
anything. That's right. In August, I think it was, when it became legal, I went out in the woods, dug up a plant, brought it home in the back of my truck. I was driving down the road with a big old cannabis plant in the back of my truck. And I brought it home and I showed my wife. I said, Charlotte, look, this is why I quit drinking. He said, again,
Wow.
that whole backstory of me and anxiety and depression and drinking. And I said, look, Charlotte, this is why I quit drinking. And my wife kind of took it badly. She kind of took it as, you've been lying to me this whole time. And I took it as, look, I don't drink anymore. I'm not embarrassing anymore. I'm not mentally unhealthy anymore. And it's because of this plant. So my wife and I had a really good talk.
Wow, man.
And over about 6 months of her seeing me lose like 80 pounds, not drink alcohol, touch zero painkillers of any kind, she is the biggest believer as I am. She does not
Wow.
use it. She doesn't have the issue like I do, but she is fully 100% for it. But at the beginning, she wasn't, right? So my wife was against it because you've been told it's a drug forever, and it's with heroin and cocaine and everything else, meth.
Exactly. Dude, that is very vulnerable of you to share that story. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for that. And it sounds
Yeah,
like
you
your
bet.
wife must understand and truly have your well-being in mind, because like you said, if she sticks around and sees the difference in the lifestyle, that's very powerful, man. So I just want to thank you for sharing that.
That's the lifestyle, you bet. And I want to share this too. One time back before cannabis, just a few years before cannabis, I had been drinking a lot of alcohol to work on just to not be depressed. And I got a note from my wife one time when I came home. It said, I would like for you to get all the alcohol out of our house. I love you very, very much, but it's causing problems. And that was a wake up call to me. And I really, really thank my wife, love her to death, that she would have my peace and well being in mind, and
Wow.
our children, I mean, that she would say, we've got to make a change. But that was really the beginning of my change. Like, okay, something's got to stop. Alcohol's detrimental. It's just not good for me. And, switched it
Wow,
to
man.
cannabis. But
Well,
man, what I was saying
that's
was going to
powerful.
those grows, they were teaching me how to grow, and it was so much fun to see it. And then one time I walk into a grow, and this guy does not know what he's doing, like most growers at the time did. Many of these grows have failed or are failing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of grows here, but they are not all successful,
Right.
right? It is difficult to grow cannabis in a medicinal way. Like, I can grow cannabis in my backyard. It's going to work for me. But if I got to sell it on a market with regulations and rules, that's not as easy as it seems.
Whole nother animal.
So I go into this one grow, and man, it is just a hot mess. All his plants are eaten up. There are cobwebs all over the plants. He had like 6 plants in flower and about 1 tent with about 10 veg plants. And I was just like, man, let me tell you something. You let me grow here for 2 months. Just give me 2 months and I'm going to change all your plant. I'll start with I started with Brothers Grimm seeds. And so just
Nice.
give me a chance
Classic.
for 2 months.
Some Cinderella
Yeah,
99, something like
you're dang right. I had Killer
that.
Queens, Apollo 13, G13 Genius. Yeah, I had all kinds of good stuff. The Grim Glue. And I started with it and I grew organics. And I just showed this guy, it's like, listen, I don't know everything, but I'm learning organics. And this seems like a really fun and kind of simple process. And so I grew with that grow for a year and a half. And it was fun for me. I loved it. I think it was successful. I'd never messed with the end product. I only did the growing and the curing, and then it was given to them to do what they did. The owners do what they did with it. But after about a year and a half, our grow was bought by a bigger grow.
Mm.
And I'm no longer in commercial growing right now. It's just my own home stuff.
Well, that's what I would love to talk about, man, because I know you're doing a ton of stuff just on your own little craft scale. Can you talk about growing in Oklahoma? I'm not sure. I know a lot of your non-cannabis plants are out in the native soil. I don't know how much native soil growing you've done with cannabis,
Yeah.
but I know that the soil here can be hit or miss, right? You have that really iron-rich
Correct.
clay red dirt soil, and some
Clay,
places I've seen, they regenerate it and it works out really, really great. Other places say that they have like heavy metal problems due to industry and things like that. What can you tell us about growing out in the native Oklahoma climate?
So I can tell you that throughout Oklahoma, you and I, we met in Oklahoma City at a GrowCast event, a seed trade thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And as you are in Oklahoma City, if you look at the ponds and the lakes, the ponds for sure will be red.
Right.
And there's a grower here, red dirt cultivator, I think is his name. But a lot of red dirt
Right.
in southern Oklahoma, mid-central Oklahoma. So very, very clay, right? That's the color of the dirt, a lot of clay. Once you move up into the northern, eastern Oklahoma area, it gets a little more lush. It's called green country here.
Right.
But it's not like it's just fertile land. Yeah, like you said, it's hit and miss. Along the rivers, a lot of that soil can be washed away, and it's very thin soil with a thick immediate clay with an inch of maybe topsoil. It's just because of water constantly washing it off.
Wow.
Now where I live, half of my yard is really nice looking dirt. I wouldn't call it soil, but good looking dirt. Not a lot of clay, not anything heavy in there. But the other half of my yard is complete clay. I can't even barely dig about 3 inches down.
Damn.
So in Oklahoma, it is a lot of that hit and miss. And with my stuff, what I do is create no-till beds. I dug out a little dirt in a certain area. If there was clay, I'd get the clay out. And then I just started composting in there and throwing leaves and grass and no-tilling it real well.
Oh, nice.
And that's what I grow here at my house are these no-till spots. And not just in my native soil. Now, when I did the guerrilla growing stuff, I did grow in just native soil. And like I said, the finished product you get it's just like, you would look at it and be like, oh God, do not smoke that.
Right.
But it worked. It still worked. It still had the trichome production, and it would still get you high, and it would still give your mind some peace. So it was worth it.
Probably hard to just throw it right in there, though, huh? Just throwing it out in the wild without, taking care of that land first or making a bed or some sort of container.
Exactly. What's going to happen in Oklahoma is right now, during the middle of June to the end of July, beginning of August, if you don't go out there and water those plants almost every day, they're going to burn up on you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's just too stinking hot not to have some type of husbandry along with that plant, those the outside growers here in Oklahoma, they're not just letting them go. They're babying those girls. They're spraying with IPM constantly because, again, caterpillar season is upon us. They are thick here. Caterpillars and grasshoppers are extremely awful. Yeah. I'm sure other Oklahomans could list a plethora of other things, but for me, it is caterpillars for sure, and then grasshoppers.
Grasshoppers,
the next
I've
thing.
seen them like crazy. Crickets and grasshoppers here are like their own huge portion of the ecosystem, is what it seems like to me. The wind is nuts.
Yeah.
My vegetable garden, I need some sort of greenhouse or a shade cloth to block that wind, because right now, man, the wind is just whipping my plants and they can't grow right.
I bet.
Do you deal with that? Dealing with like cannabis outdoors, you got to get completely wind fucked.
Every year I have a plant that gets broken from a hailstorm, a rainstorm. Now, what I do is my outside plants this year, I had them in all some blueberries strains that I grow. I grew them inside. Got them about 2 feet tall, looking really nice and thick and lush. Every leaf is green, and it just looks so pretty. The day I take them outside, that night we had a hailstorm, and it shredded them, man. It just shredded them. And then about 2 days after that, we go into a bunch of rain and dark skies. So it triggered them into flower, and it was like a kick in the nuts just putting them outside like that. So right now they look pretty good in my no-till. But they take a beating outside. We've had heavy rains that have broke a lot of my sunflowers down. but I haven't broke a cannabis plant yet because I got them all staked up.
Wow, that's smart. Yeah, I'm sure you got to support them or cover them or shelter them because I can't imagine. That's really smart though, getting them grown up indoors first because the veggies were just sprouting out there and when they're young, they just get thrashed.
You're exactly right. I started a couple of FEM seed cannabis plants about 3 weeks ago in just the ground, and they did pop up. And once the cotyledons got a little bit of sun on them, they just melted in that 100-degree weather.
Shit.
So it's difficult from seed.
I want to get into your breeding work next, but about this heat first. Do you have any extra tips on dealing with high heat and sun coverage? You know, we've heard about shade cloths. We've heard about increasing silica to handle heat.
No.
Any tips and tricks for this 100+ degree weather?
Yeah, so I do a bamboo JLF for a little bit of silica to add to my watering. Now, a couple things I could tell you. If you grow in black pots outside, those black pots are going to be really, really hot. There are some red colors and some gray colors, some brown colors. But when I first grew, the first couple of years, I was growing in black pots and I could just feel them, but they were just hot.
Good point.
And during the summertime, if you water in the morning, you're going to get a bed of steam on those roots, and that's not good. You want to water in the evening time, of course, and let those plants get a good long drink. At nighttime, the water's not going to be evaporating on you. It's going to stay in the dirt longer. The plants can get a better drink. And in the daytime, that water is going to evaporate, and you're not going to have, or your water is going to evaporate, but the plant is going to have consumed a lot, and a lot is going to have run off.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to steam those roots so much. But I do think I have watered in the morning time on a hot day, and the pots are so hot. I mean, you can take your soil temperature. You can look and see. But that's one thing. Growing in black pots outside, watering in the morning on a hot day, not great. Your plants will wither. You'll see them just not happy.
That's got to be horrible for the microbiology in there too, as the temperatures climb higher and higher.
You're exactly right. That is exactly right. See, one thing about on the other flip side is on composting, I'm adding water to get it hot, right? I'm wanting to really peak out at certain temperatures on my compost. But in my dirt, in my soil for my plants, I'm trying to imitate Earth. Earth temperature didn't fluctuate that much, right? But my pots are definitely going to fluctuate as I adjust my water and moisture levels.
1000%, dude. That's a really good point. We'll return to the program in just a second, but before that, shout out to the Foop, baby. We have a new product announcement from the Foop, the Veg Pack. That's right. It comes with the Veg 1, the Veg 2, and the Sweetener. Everything your plants need through the veg cycle. You will not need to add any additives. You'll get those thick stalks. My roots are bustin', dark green, vibrant green canopies, and the Sweetener. Yes, we did have the recent Growcast TV guest say that you want as many different types of sugar as you can, and that Sweetener is where it's at. I also think that it's interesting that the Foop recommends that you use the Sweetener in veg. A lot of people recommend that you use it at the end of flower only, but you know that it feeds those beautiful microbes in there and unlocks all those other nutrients that so why wouldn't you add the Sweetener in veg? Comes in the Veg Pack. Foop is certified organic, OMRI listed. It works great in virtually all growing media. The Veg Pack is now available in 1 gallon sizes on Foop's website or a quart size on Amazon. You can find it at amazon.com/Foop or get the larger size at thefoop.com, and always use code GROWCAST at thefoop.com for 15% off. No code for Amazon, but it's a much better deal with the 15% off and the larger size. Again, that's amazon.com/thefoop and thefoop.com for the gallon size, Amazon for the quart size. Also, make sure to get on their giveaway. This thing is sick, the Foop Mega Giveaway. It's $1,500 worth of grow gear. It's a full grow setup, light, tent, all that stuff. Just go to foopgiveaway.com. Tell them who you are. That's all you got to do. Again, fans, air filters, a huge tent, a couple of lights. It's everything you need to blow up your favorite room or basement or garage. All you got to do is go to foopgiveaway.com. Be healthy, go organic, use the Foop, and that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm loving it, baby. Thefoop.com, code GROWCAST. Go and try it, everybody. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So much to talk to you about, bro. This is a really good interview, I'm not going to lie. So let's get into strains next, and then I got to ask you about the ferments. But you mentioned strains. Yep. I know you're a breeder. You work a lot of berry. You have the blueberry that you're working on. Yep. Yeah, let's start with your work. What are you working on now? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so right now, the 2 lines that I have that are coming out actually in Oklahoma dispensaries are the blueberry squealer and the blueberry breath. On my OK Calyx genetics page. I've got quite a few of pictures of the blueberry squealers and the blueberry breaths. The blueberry squealer lineage is blueberry muffin from Humboldt Seed Company,
Nice.
crossed with blueberry train mac, that's Brandon Russ's cross. So I put those two together, and they came out. The F1s came out very sweet, honey, light blueberry cotton candy kind of smells. And I kept out of about 20 blueberry squealers, I kept 3 of them. And all 3 of them are at Legends Cannabis Company right now in Haskell, Oklahoma, about 10 miles from my house. Those are the original cuts from the original blueberry squealers that I bred and hunted. And so we're still growing those original F1s out, and they are coming on market here in just a few months, man.
Nice.
Now the blueberry breath is a completely different direction. Still blueberry, but the lineage is loaded with Kush. Now the blueberry breath is blueberry muffin, again, blueberry muffin from Humboldt Seed Company, because that thing is delicious. I love that. And I just was like, okay, what can I do to this thing and try to do things with it, right? So blueberry breath is blueberry muffin crossed to my TKLB. You know Brandon Russ.
Correct.
He has a strain called Triangle Kush crossed to Northern Lights 5 Haze crossed to Lime 1 BX.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just call that thing TK, Triangle Kush. And Triangle Kush was crossed to a Lady Breath from Family Tree Seeds. And Lady Breath has Citrus Farmer in it. It's got Pam 1 in it. It's got OG Kush Breath in it. Mendo Montage in it. It is just loaded with these heavy Kushes and real pretty colors.
That's interesting.
And so Blueberry Breath crossed to my TKLB. Blueberry Muffin crossed to TKLB is Blueberry Breath. And now Blueberry Breath, the taste on it is different. Because all that Kush back there, that blueberry, it's a darker blueberry. Sure. There's a richness to it. You know, there's not so much sweet, but it's earthy and blueberry and a little gassy, cushy back there. But some of those blueberry breaths have, you better believe it. Those colors are fantastic on the blueberry breaths. Yesterday I just posted 2 blueberry breaths, 2 different phenos of blueberry breath F1, and they're definitely different looking. They both are beautiful. One of them has this just purpley blue hue to it. It is gorgeous.
I love that. Man. I love that. Well, you talk about these sweet strains. Is that generally what you lean towards? I know if you're using cannabis medicinally, a lot of these breeders breed for what works for them. You know what I mean? Like, you see someone has gastrointestinal problems and magically all the strains that they select are really good for that because that's what they select for. Yeah. Do sweet strains really do it for you, or are you kind of more broad with what you like?
It's the taste. It's the terp with the blueberry crosses that I'm doing. I want the taste. I love that flavorful cannabis taste. You know, you ever see B Leaf showing off all of his wax and rosin that he does? Mm-hmm. Man, that looks so good. And at one of the seed trays we went to, he was there, and I got to smell all that good, yummy, stinky truffle rosin that he's got. So it's gassy and stinky and skunky, and
so you love it all.
You know, smells like a foot. I love that smell. I love the taste.
I love the nasty ones.
I love it.
I love off-putting smells.
I love it. I do too. Stanky GMOs and just gross armpit, like sweaty old basketball shirt.
Yep.
But the blueberry is a taste that I just want. Really, what I was doing is, man, I love this blueberry muffin taste so much that I want to breed a bunch of stuff and then just be able to grow it all I want. That was kind of what I was thinking. But then I was like, man, I've got some other good strain. You know, I got Romulan blueberry mixed in with them. I've got blueberry mac muffin mixed in there from SFV Genetics. Let's see. I've got a lot of terp fiend going on. Cool. I've used his Nag Champa. I've used his pineapple meatballs, and I crossed some blueberry into those guys.
He's been on the show a whole bunch.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's super nice.
That's cool, man.
So
That's really
a lot of good breeders just use it. You know, breeding is using other people's good stuff. That's all it is. I didn't create anything. I took 2 good things and made a baby with it, and I get to call the baby mine when 2 other parents actually made it. You know, that's why you got to give credit. I use a lot of Brandon Russ's stuff. I use a lot of terp fiend stuff, Humboldt County. I love their stuff, and I want to give them the props because they're the ones that put in the hard work that I'm being rewarded for right now.
I couldn't agree more. These plants have been around for a long, long time, and 2 people put together a cross, and then suddenly it's like that's their thing, and it bugs me for a lot of different reasons. Mostly when people denigrate someone for growing someone else's stuff, because if you're just the last person to put it together, that's not the plant's fault. But I love what you're doing, dude. This is really great. And with the blueberry terps, if you like the sweet, I would love to get you some of our peach. Yeah, maybe because I was interested in that blueberry squealer. Maybe a trade is in order for some of our peach quake and our peach typhoon. If you like the sweet stuff.
I like the sweet stuff. Let me tell you something. Rhizo Rich, am I saying it right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that right? I've already been talking to him about all that peach stuff. Him and Farmer John too.
Hey, shout out to Farmer John.
We gotta get you this peach stuff. We gotta get you the peach. And I think Farmer John sent me some of the one of the peach crosses.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, dude, definitely
shout out to Farmer John.
Nice. I mean, a shout out to Farmer John. That man can grow, and he don't just grow cannabis. That man grows food and flowers, and he does it professionally, man. He is. I mean, his pictures are great, or he's a really good photographer.
Exactly.
No, he's not.
I was just really in his garden, dude. Yeah, definitely both of those things. But that's what I'm mostly jealous about is all the other stuff you guys got going on. Like I said, from your roses to my veggie garden looks like shit right now, dude. I mean, I'm just gonna be straight up with you, but yeah, dude, I'm definitely down with all the different types of gardening. What are you growing right now aside from cannabis?
Yeah, so I'm growing a lot of tomatoes, a lot of heirlooms, and some bigger, fatter ones. See if I can get some big old juicy tomatoes. But I like the heirlooms again because they're pretty. Those heirloom tomatoes turn all kinds of fun colors on you like cannabis will. And I love those cool, different colored heirloom plants. But I'm growing some different types of corn, some red strawberry corn. It's just a red colored kernel. And then what's called a glass gem corn.
Is that all for eating?
Yeah. This is all for eating. No, it's definitely for eating. But if anything not used will be composted or, made into fertilizer. I'm growing eggplants, growing some squash, zucchini, okra. I'm also growing sunflowers. We grow roses. We grow, what else we got in there?
Hell yeah, dude. That's a good lineup right there.
Tons of onions. Lots of onions. Love those onions. Oh, lots of zinnias, lots of fun flowers. Now, let me tell you this, though. Besides the cannabis, every fruit and vegetable I'm growing came from barters with my blueberry crosses.
Yeah.
I would tell people I don't really want the money for it because I just want people's life, right? There's times where I'm like, yeah, I could use the money for a couple of these seeds or something like that. But often I tell people, give me your life, man. Tell me what your life is like in a package of goodies. And people have sent me so many cool things.
That's
guys
beautiful.
From Canada, they send all kinds of cool foods. And, and their food has to have French on one side and English on the other. And it's fun for my kids to look at all that, all the candy bars they send. I've had people send me fishing lures. People sent me glass pipes they've made. Let's see, all kinds of seeds. Neverwinter Farms is the guy that gave me a bunch of cucumbers and tomatoes.
Shout out Neverwinter Farms. He's another member, dude.
Man.
He's another member. He gives out all those veggie seeds. I've been 2 community gardens so far, by the way, Neverwinter Farms. If you're listening to this, 2 community gardens have received packages with those seeds you sent me, and we just give them away all fucking everywhere all the time. Shout out to Neverwinter Farms. What a good fucking guy.
Shout out. He's awesome, man. He sent me all that stuff that was in the trade. People sent me OHN. People send me IMO. They sent, I got a couple banana hearts. I made banana heart, FPJ. I mean, the list goes on with
crazy,
the stuff
dude.
you get from
that
bartering.
Is really, really
and it
cool.
has enriched my life a lot, and I really like it.
I love that, man. That is really, really cool. That's cool that you shared that here, too. Shout out to all the people out there showing love.
Yep.
Hey, while we're on this subject, though, of kind of, local gromies and strains and all of that, someone told me recently that Power Plant is an Oklahoma heirloom. Is that true? And do you see? That's what I thought. I was like, that doesn't sound right.
I've smoked it, but I don't know.
Okay, that's that. Well, there you go. At least one step closer. Do you know of any Oklahoma heirlooms like that? Do you remember growing up and smoking this thing that was around forever?
Ah, man, I want to tell you, it's not Oklahoma. It wasn't like Colorado or California. Years ago when it was legal, when there was, what is that? The triangle up there?
Yeah, the Emerald
Humboldt
Triangle.
County, all those.
No, you're still in the dark. It's kind of like Illinois doesn't have anything like that because everyone was fucking scared. So nobody.
Yeah, no one's even wanted to grow weed in a trailer. If you're growing weed, okay. So I knew people that grew weed before it was legal, and they grew a pretty good amount of it. Right? 100 plants or more, and they're growing it for their family. They're growing it to make money. They're growing it to sell to pay bills. That's why they grew it. Yep. They were good people too. They were kind people. I was friends with many of their kids, and we knew they grew weed. We smelt it in their home. They were super kind to us. And you know what else? As a middle school and high school kid, I remember thinking, man, I want to grow up and be a cool person like that smokes cannabis. And I hadn't even smoked cannabis as a kid, but it was the example of kindness they set in front of me.
Wow.
They're doing what the government said was completely illegal and on the level of heroin and meth. And these guys are growing a freaking plant that acts like a dang tomato plant.
Yep.
It's not going to do anybody harm. And even as a middle school, I remember thinking, this is wrong. It's a plant. And when the first time you ever see cannabis, you're like, that's like grass. That's a leaf.
Exactly.
That's weird. Because in Oklahoma, you were told that, it's going to poison you if you touch it. Who knows? You might get pregnant even and get AIDS and die. It was just rampant ignorance of cannabis here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, 100%, man. So you're right. There wasn't a lot of that culture. There wasn't a lot of the preservation of these types of strains. They were growing stuff. And to be honest, a lot of it wasn't worked. A lot of it wasn't good. I don't know about here in Oklahoma, but I'm talking broadly about these black market states. You were cut off from everybody. I knew old school Illinois growers too, and they grew from bag seed, and they would grow the same strain for years and years and years because you didn't have access to new genetics, because you weren't going to place an order online. You weren't going to tell anyone.
No, not at all.
And you were just going to keep growing this one strain poorly. So
correct.
But also, I still have this romanticized idea that there's this strain out there that someone's been holding on to. You know what I mean? So I still hope to find that.
I'm sure there is some grower out there that's been like, listen, I've been growing this in Oklahoma for 30 years.
Exactly.
And it's like, I believe you 100%, man. I believe you. But with what I grew out in guerrilla growing, right? When it was illegal, what I grew was told to me that it was an AK-47.
Oh, interesting.
And I still have one seed from that guerrilla growing, and I have it labeled AK-47 in my seed vault just for memory's sake, right?
Cop it, bro.
But I might one day see what happens. But what would happen is the seed that I got was a bag seed, right? It was a seed that was in a bud, and it was in one of the buds that guy gave me that I would smell, and I was like, oh my gosh, a seed. And so I popped that first seed, and I planted it about 10 miles from my house. And I used to ride my bike sometimes to go water it in the summer, just because I would have to be like, hey, sweetie, I'm going to ride my bike to exercise. But I would ride my bike all the way out to these plants. And when I planted them along some creeks. So I had some water, because I couldn't get water out there anyway at all. But I would take empty 5-gallon milk jugs with me in a backpack. And I'd drive out there, get water from the creek, and I would put in a little Miracle Grow, and that's what I'd feed my plants. And that AK-47 plant, the first time I grew it, it was a female, and it seeded. And so I got a bunch of seeds from it, and that's what I continued to grow the whole time until it became legal.
Oh, my God, the AK-47. Incredible stuff, man. Listen, okay, Calyx, I know you're pressed for time here. We didn't get to the ferments. Can we promise a part 2? Can you come back and talk about ferments?
Dude, we got compost, J-Dan ferments. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, well, listen, like I said, I know you're pressed for time, so we're going to let you go, and then I'll wrap the show. But let me just shout it out. Okay, Calyx on Instagram, Okay, Calyx Genetics, new Okay, Calyx YouTube page. Yes. That's where they can find you, right?
That is correct, Jordan.
Awesome. Okay, man, I'll let you go. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate you, man. See you later.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
There you go, everybody. The great and powerful OK Calyx. He did have something come up there, so we had to cut the interview just a little bit short, but we loved it. Hey, you can't be upset about that. He'll be back. And of course, he'll be on Growcast TV for the members sooner rather than later, so stay tuned for that, everybody. Follow at Growcast on Instagram, of course, but really get on the green list. Instagram is fucking up the cannabis industry big time. So growcastpodcast.com/list. /action brings you to the page where you can just see all our stuff, from the classes to Seedco to merch and everything we're doing. All the action can be found at /action. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing incredible things in your garden, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in as we wrap up this History Month and we enter Plant Nutrition July. That's going to be very, very nice. Focusing on optimal plant health. Very, very interesting stuff planned, so stay tuned. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you next time on Growcast, everybody. Be safe out there and grow smarter. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you're doing awesome things in your garden. Thank you to OK Calyx. Before we wrap it up, though, AC Infinity, everybody, the best grow gear in the game. Code GROWCAST15 saves you 15% at acinfinity.com. They've got the thick, sturdy tents with the thick canvas and the thick tent poles, the best tents in the game. They've got the fans that you need, the inline fans, the cloud ray oscillating fans now. Again, code GROWCAST15 for 15% off. The best quality grow gear you can find. They've also got lights and scissors and pots and hangers and so much more. But when it comes to the fans and the tents, there's no one else out there that does it better. The inline fans, the Cloud Line series, are fantastic. The S series is the simple series, still comes with a 10-speed fan controller. And the T series comes with a controller that lets you automatically dial in your temperature and humidity. acinfinity.com, code GROWCAST15 for 15% off. They even have grow kits that come with everything you need to expand. Get that second veg tent, get that second flower tent you've been thinking about. Save with the kit and use code GROWCAST15, which now works on those kits, saving you extra money with the best gear in the game. acinfinity.com. They've been our partners for years. We brought these guys along a long time ago. They've really expanded and done a great job. acinfinity.com, code GROWCAST15. All right, that's all for today, everybody. Once again, thank you so much. I hope your garden is ripping. I do appreciate all you listeners and especially all you members. Let me know if you need anything. Get at me in that Discord. Love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, Jordan River here.
And Queen of the Sun.
We are so excited to embark on our Soil Biology Masterclass tour all over the country, where Queen of the Sun and I are going to teach you how to master the magic of microbiology in your garden.
That's right. We've got classes booked all over the U.S. We're coming to Illinois, Florida, Colorado, and more.
All you got to do is go to growcastpodcast.com/classes and see all the locations that we have scheduled. Sign up there to come and experience the most affordable and in-depth soil education in the cannabis world.
We have so much to teach you, from mixing your own living soil to identifying different types of microbial life, utilizing native microbes, creating compost teas and extract, plus so much more.
Not to mention, we will be examining your soil under a microscope in real time during the class to see just how alive your living soil is.
So visit growcastpodcast.com/classes and sign up today. Spots are filling up fast and you have to get on the list to attend. And remember, my Patreon supporters or Growcast get 25% off ticket price.
That's growcastpodcast.com/classes. Sign up today. Come on down and experience this incredible masterclass. You won't look at soil biology the same ever again. growcastpodcast.com/classes. We'll see you there.
Happy gardening!
It's going to poison you if you touch it. You know, who knows? You might get pregnant even and get AIDS and die. You know, it was just rampant ignorance of cannabis here in Oklahoma.